Okay, we've been together, let's see, a year, 6 months.
About a year.
Probably, no, because we've been married 6 months
About to say a
today.
year and a half.
And we were together a year to our wedding, technically. So it's been roughly a year and a half, almost 2 years.
Okay. How did you guys meet?
You want to tell?
Yeah,
I guess it's been 4 years.
Yeah, it's been 4 years.
And how did you two meet?
At a club, at one of his shows.
Yeah, I was playing at a club, and actually Heather was pointed out to me by another fan of the band who was saying, "You guys have to meet. She's perfect for you."
We met at the bank because I was always going in to cash my checks, and he was a bank teller. And he was the person who would always make an exception and cash my check, even when it probably shouldn't have been. And he was always flirting with me, but I was, a little slow to catch on, trying to finish out other things.
For me, personally, it was the emotional bond and the intimacy that we had, and right away. And I had never experienced that before. So, for me, that's why I knew that I wanted to spend the rest of my life with Andrew, if I could.
Heather knows that this was a harder decision for me. I had come out of a really bad, painful experience, and I wasn't looking for any committed relationship at the time. But the attraction was there. The depth of the connection was there.
And then I didn't see him for a while. I didn't know what happened to Quincy. I thought he got fired, and then I eventually showed back up. And I wasn't going in, his shifts changed, and one day I walked in and he was there again, and we locked eyes, and he asked me out one more time, I guess the final last time, and I finally accepted, and we went out, and that was that.
So how long have you two been married?
28 and a half years.
Great. So what is the secret to you guys' success?
What's a secret? Denial, ignoring things that bother you about the other person. I think complimenting each other too, being different.
What attracted you to me?
Well, the fact that you were so passionate on stage was my first attraction to you.
My first attraction to you was that you were attracted to me. Actually. But yeah, we got talking, and we did have a lot in common. A lot of attitudes. We had similar attitudes about important things.
When I was working a different shift, and I would get off, after 10 o'clock at night, and, she's still like, yeah, I'll cook dinner and you come over after you get off, and it's been really, where we've always been able to be comfortable with each other since the very beginning, where we're basically best friends. We can talk about any and everything and play and have fun and act silly and, and get serious as well, so from the very beginning, after a couple of months, it was pretty much, it's kind of scary almost. You're like, man, I think I really like this person, like, more than more than a little bit,
I don't know. I really don't feel that there's a need to commit on paper in this kind of societal fashion. I think that the most important commitment between individuals is personal. And, I'm not saying that things are not going to work out with us, but we've both seen how horrible marriages can be.
Yeah.
And when something seems to be working out, why mess with
right.
it?
Why put that pressure? And
I see people change all the time when they get married.
yeah.
Over and over and over again. I think no matter how well-intentioned people are, they have unspoken expectations
Yeah,
when they get
Definitely.
married.
definitely.
And then it takes years of therapy to work out those expectations and how they weren't met and whose fault it is and who gets the loot and who gets the
gets the-
kids and all that foolishness.
Yeah.
So I'm
Yeah, I
not,
think we both agree on that. We've talked about it a lot, so.
So when you guys were growing up, did you guys have examples of happy relationships in your life?
Mm-hmm. My parents. Mm-hmm. I had two brothers though that both got divorced, older brothers. But
And my parents had not your typical relationship, but they were together. I mean, they were so together it was ridiculous. They worked together, so I mean they were together 24/7. So if anything, I wanted to make sure I didn't follow that path. How I do was a little too intense. But they were together. They were happy.
well,
people getting married for the
For
wrong
wrong
reasons.
reasons, yeah.
I mean, people are compelled in our society to be married for a number of reasons. Social expectations, but increasingly so economics. It's hard for most people to get by, and they feel, well, I love her, this will work out, or I love him, rather, actually, probably would be usually the case. I love him, he'll be good to me, you know, and we can pool our resources, and it never works out.
Yeah.
There's some cats out there that my friends that are getting married and getting engaged, and they know they're not ready,
What they doing?
and they're screwing around right now before they get married.
Why
Yeah,
are they doing it?
because it's the political thing to do.
Oh, it's the religious thing.
I guess so. You know what I mean? I'm gonna save face for family. I have a kid with her now. I'm gonna save face for my family, and I'm gonna save face for whatever other reason.
Some people have physical infatuation, and that only lasts so long, and and they think that's that's gonna last them, for a lifetime, and it doesn't.
I know like more than half my friends got married because that's just what their parents expected of them. I don't know for sure that they actually were ready to be married or...
I've never been able to understand the mad rush out of high school to get married and find that person
And have
start
kids.
that family. And
Yeah.
it's like, don't you see anything more out there for yourself? It drives me up a wall. And it's like every year I see another group of kids just rush into the meat hook.
Most people get married for the wrong reasons. I don't think most people enter the whole idea of marriage with the right reasons. I think because I don't think you know what the right reasons are. Most of the reasons that people come together are romantic notions. So I think if you're able to hang in the marriage and work through speaking with one another and caring for one another, you might get to the right reasons. But I think none of us understand what the right reasons are for marriage. I mean, again, I think we're hardwired to be connected to one another. But that's just the first step. And beyond that, most of us don't have a very good clue of what it takes to make a marriage work.
I think there's no communication in relationships whatsoever. I think everybody's trying to be something that they're not to catch this person. And when you get the person, you stop and forget about, okay, let me ask all these questions before. I would want to know what's going on with somebody before I step in and marry somebody. That's forever. That's a forever thing right there. So that's what I was telling you before.
Well, I think one of the first things many couples say is we're not communicating. We're not hearing one another. We're not listening. And I think, if anything, couples talk too much. And they don't listen actively. I mean, they might hear and they get into arguments, but communication is what people come in saying they don't have. The problem is we want instant gratification. We want, and when people say he's not hearing me, she's not hearing me, what they're really saying is they're not changing their mind and taking my point of view.
Do you guys communicate well?
No.
We did until she became a therapist.
She is really on to me because I don't take her out enough. And I know that I don't. And I do get caught up in all of my things. I mean, I have the band going, I'm working on a novel and a script,
They don't
and
care.
I have a day job, and
They don't care what you.
it's like, I'm just saying, it's like the reality is that my attention is drawn in a lot of different directions all the time.
Well, we've had our set of financial issues because of some of the things that's happened in my business, and that is very difficult. It is very difficult,
But I think for me, the alternative would be to move in with my mother. So I'll stay married.
And you tell me too. You're like, oh, you haven't done anything special for me lately. Or
Yeah.
I think we just need to remind each other.
It doesn't take much reminding. I
No.
mean, it's like,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, I know.
I'm not getting into it.
Because I know what I like, and the things that I want really are not anything that probably the next person doesn't want. So I know that if I want it, he probably wants it and then some, so I just try to always, do unto him as I want him to do to me. Sometimes my first touch is really my indication to him that I really want to touch too. Hey, my shoulders hurt too. Let me rub his shoulders, and then he'll say, hey, let me rub your shoulders.
Communication is a much greater ideal that we strive for. To know that I can appreciate your way of thinking, live alongside of it, walk alongside of it, and be okay with that. But I don't have to agree with you.
It's just like aging. People decide when they're going to get old. People decide when they're going to, give up and settle for what they have. And, there are a lot of unhappy relationships out there.
Yeah.
And I sound like some sort of militant anti-relationship person. There are great relationships out there. I'm sure there must be some great relationships out there. I just, I think that we see the majority have failed. I mean, what are the
It's like
the
one,
averages?
one out of every two marriages fail. Yeah.
Is it?
It's 50. Yeah, I think
It's 50-50.
50-50.
That's bad odds for something that's supposed to be,
Forever.
forever,
Mhm.
life-changing, all that stuff.
I think it's a myriad set of issues that make married couples break up. And I think there's a trend today for married couples to feel like there's someone better out there for them. That if they get into a disagreement now and they can't resolve it, or they feel as though they aren't resolving it, that there would be someone better out there for them, so they'll leave the marriage. I think there's this immaturity and an impulsiveness today, in today's life in general, that says there's something better for me.
How long were you married for?
23 years.
And when did you get a divorce?
When was it finalized? On my anniversary last year.
Well, how long did it take you to get a divorce? Was it a long process?
3 years.
3 years to get a divorce?
Yeah. It started out because he wasn't very supportive of me when some bad things happened, and there was someone in his family who was being abusive to me, and he wasn't supportive of me. He acted like he didn't believe it, even though another person in his family said that it did happen. And later on, I believe that he was cheating on me. And towards the end, I was very sure that he was cheating on me. And but I think